morning. It's been 2 days, almost 3 days of rain here now, and I'm pretty much stuck inside the boat doing a lot of reading. And I'm going to just show you around the boat on some new features that I've added. One of the things I added on the table here is 2 racks there to hold all my electronics, because as you can see, there's batteries for cameras and everything under the sun. My Zoleo there is the thing that's flashing. Sent a message out, and that's what the blue pattern means, is it's trying to send a message that hasn't gone out yet. I moved my key rack over there. It used to be over on the other side by the cabinet, but I needed that space for something else. Hanging on the wall there is my vacuum cleaner, which I use to clean up the floor when it gets too covered with sand. And then this is my inside outside temperature gauge. I don't know if you can read the numbers. It's probably too hard to see. The lights pour in here. Anyway, I have that. That's one of the things I do document every day, is inside outside temperature, just so that people have an idea. That flag right there is a flag of the Northwest Territories. It may have changed because they kind of divided up the Northwest Territories. So I don't know if that's still the flag, but that was an official flag that was given to me back in 1983 by some Canadian folks that I visited with when I went around Great Slave Lake back then. And then that's the dish rack and towel holder, paper towel holder. The new addition on this side, the main thing that I added this summer, was this controller, solar controller. I needed an additional solar controller if I wanted to take excess power from my solar panels on the roof and power the house batteries, or recharge the house batteries. The panels on the roof are primarily for my solar battery that powers the refrigerator and freezer, but I wanted to be able to, if I had excess power, if I was up to 100% on the solar battery, that I could pull the power off those panels, excess power, and run it into the house and starting batteries. And that's what this is about. I installed this summer, and I've used it twice on this trip where I've had 100% of power. But now the last 3 days, I'm into backup power. I'll run you around over here. You've seen some of this, both my utensil rack and then behind it a knife rack that's magnetic. The two together really saves a lot of space and makes it really handy when you're cooking in a very small space. And then I've got some utensils back here that I use for cooking, tissues and whatnot. And then here's my 2-burner stove. And I have a couple of timers, one back there hanging on the utensil rack, and then one here that's on the stove. And I use those for baking and doing my coffee in the morning, things like that. This is the other part of the galley, the rack with all my spices, salt and pepper, things like that for cooking and baking and snacking. The sink here, I made this cover that you can see right here to cover the sink so that I can use that additional space. I always save the water from my washing the previous day so that I have something to wash with, just to rinse my hands when I'm cooking and things like that. But that cover I built to fit that particular hole where the sink is. And then I've explained before, this rack right below here is my propane stove. One of the mouse traps I set off accidentally. I got to reset that. I've caught at least 4 mice on this trip. The 5th voluntarily gave up, and I threw him over the side in a bucket. He had to swim ashore. I let him live, but he did have to swim for his life. That's my kettle in the background there for heating water to wash with. It's a nice big kettle. A couple of racks back there for towels. This one, and then up there's for my lighters and some odds and ends. A magnet if I drop something over the side. And then back here are several things. The one in the back right is a little bit of a pump. Actually, it's for fish tanks, but I use it for the basin for my shower to pump the water out so I don't have too much water to dump over from the pan after I'm showered, because I use about 5 gallons of water or so. And then right next to that is an emergency, or not an emergency light, but a night, if I'm anchored out in an area where I need to legally shine a light, I will use that. Plugs into the 12-volt socket in the cockpit. Extra hats, because they are, tend to blow over the side. And then a mirror. Up on top here, I've got a little bit of a fan that I use to blow the heat. Right now the heater is running, so I have that running. That's a USB powered fan, and it moves the heat around the room a lot better. It keeps it more uniform in the cabin. And up here is a rack with my emergency flares, gloves when it's cold and for kayaking. And then here's the VHF radio that I added this year as well. I find that I'm not being able to use it up here much. I can get weather on about half the lake and very little VHF. In fact, I've heard no VHF traffic on channel 16, so it must be little used. And then this is the head. Kind of hard to see with this because it's not a wide angle camera, and most of you have seen this, but I've got extra lines hanging in here, and then recyclables in that bag. Short sleeve shirt on for hot days. I've got rubber boots for when it's raining and I have to get out without getting too wet. On this side is my shower curtains and some of my heavy rain gear if I need it. Haven't used it on this trip, but I have used those pants, which are a lightweight. The green pants there are lightweight for rain, and I have used those yesterday actually to move the boat around. Spare pair of shoes down here. I always carry at least 2 pairs of shoes, and then my hiking boots as well. Some sandbags for holding down my portable solar panel. Right now I've got my bag of clothes and down vest and stuff just sitting on my bunk. I usually put this fleece cover over the top just to keep the dirt off my comforter underneath there. I use flannel sheets year round because it just tends to feel better when it's even when it's hot and humid. They still feel better than the other sheets that tend to, I don't know, feel more like they soak up the moisture, and it feels more clammy to me. I brought my chair inside because of the rain. That way I can sit more comfortably if I'm reading for long periods of time. Underneath, I've got my trash can, excess bag, that's my shore bag. Right now I keep my camera gear in there. Excess tools, lantern, excess paper towels. I'm not going to pull up this bench here, but underneath there is keep all my spare 1-pound bottles of propane for running the grill and my shower. My first aid kit is in there and it's fairly complete. Additional books, things like that for reading. Down underneath here are all my storage bins. The 2 bottom ones are electronics exclusively. The bigger ones are food, and I can get 3 weeks of food into those 2 baskets, and they slide in and out pretty easily. I'll move this chair out of the way so we can see underneath there. Right here is, you see that green box? That's my backup battery, lithium-ion battery that'll fill the solar battery, which is over on this side. This is my solar battery. That's the primary battery that the solar panels on the roof are charging. And this powers my refrigerator freezer, which you can see on this side. And this shows the temperatures. It's 3 degrees in the freezer, 34 degrees in the refrigerator. And as you can see, my solar is down to 8%. I don't know if you can read that. So it's getting pretty much where I'm going to have to back it up again. You can see that plug here right on the backup battery. That plug I just plug in to charge up a primary battery, kind of recharge it. And I'm going to have to do that again today because I'm down to 8%. Right next to it is a backup solar battery. I use that mainly to recharge drones, batteries, and my laptop. It right now needs to be recharged. I haven't had any sun to do that with. It's not very big. It's only about, I think it's 470 watts, but it's good for backup. And then that's the canister for my shower. Right now that's out in the cockpit. And then I've got my life jacket, some camera tripods and stuff there, some racks, or not racks, but hanging netting there to hold my books, and there's one on the other side too for more reading material and fishing regulation. I use a lot of those bungees to fasten things down underway. Right next to it is a carbon monoxide alarm, and just I forgot to show you over here by the entry there's that's a gas or propane alarm. If I have a leak in there, that's what that's about. And then underneath here, I have 2 bins, one on each side. I keep tools, in this case fishing tackle, a drill, spare batteries, my multimeter, tool for changing the props if I need to use the backup. Over this side I've got more backup tools, things for adjusting anything out in the cockpit or on the boat. Then, what did I miss? Okay, up on the roof I got my main fishing rod. Behind that you can see a life jacket. That's my fillet board, which I haven't used on this trip. Up above are kind of dark color there. There's an extension I use for the kayak when I'm filming. And then there's some blinds for both the doors. If I am at a public place or where the sun is shining right in, I can use that to block the light. And then over on this side, I've got my camera for hauling around, using my P2 when I do a lot of filming of the sights and stuff. That's a rack that I use for that. And then there's underneath a paddle. That paddle fastens to a pole that I have in the cockpit in case I'm grounded and I use the pole for pushing off. And then if I need a paddle, I can fasten this on the end instead. So it has double purpose. On this side, I have an umbrella that I put on my chair for blocking the sun if the cockpit, the sun is coming in from a weird angle. There's my throwable cushion to remain legal for that. Backup fishing rod, Swede saw, axe, 2 walking sticks, and then the pole arrangement for my shower framework when I set up the shower in the cockpit. One thing I didn't show you is the meter. This is the power center for charging from 110 shore power, but this meter shows my current voltage on board. Right now you can see I'm kind of low on voltage, and what does it show there? Got 667 amp hours left, so I'm getting a little low. I need to recharge, but I've been stuck here for 2 days, so I can't do that. Up above here I just have a variety of different things, extra fuses, tools, starting cord if I need to start manually from the outboard motor. That's my silverware, and just more zip ties if I need them, and clothespins. So it's a little bit of everything in this boat. Up on the roof I added this solar vent, which right now is not running because there's been no sun. I should go up and change the battery, but it's been raining too much to do that right now, so I'll have to wait. That does help keep the air fresher inside and pulls out some of the moisture too. So anyway, that was something that I mounted myself. For the controller, solar controller, I've got a monitoring. I can monitor it by Bluetooth to my phone. That's the Bluetooth transmitter right there. You can see underneath there I've got 2 mouse traps set. Like I said, I've had 4 dead ones already this trip that I've trapped, and 1 live one that I turned loose. And those are the covers for the bimini and windshield and whatnot that I put underneath the steps. There is no storage compartment under the bow, so the bow is a closed compartment. Well, you can see it over on this side, I think. Yeah, you can see the bulkhead there. So that's the extent, and you can see the floor is just over the top of the middle bottom of the boat. There's some more storage in here. I put 3 different bins in here, so everything from first aid to repair items, matches in case of emergency, and 12 volt adapt, 12 volt extension cords. And then underneath I added this cabinet door myself. There used to be an ice box there. Underneath at the bottom there you can see more miscellaneous items. Portable spotlight for night emergencies. Underneath that's a pan on top there with a gauge on the top of the pan. That's my stovetop oven. Underneath is a fry pan. I've never used it, but behind there is a portable, another propane heater. If my main propane runs out, I can use 1 pound bottles. There's a lantern there again that I hardly ever use, that's run by propane, 1 pound bottles. Up there is my coffee water. I always carry spring water for coffee. The jugged water that I have under the aft deck is for washing dishes only. And then just pots and pans and bowls. And back there is a backup French press in case I accidentally lose my other one or break the other French press. The primary one is in the cockpit right now. I need to wash it. There's a general layout of that cabinet, and then over here is everything from my porta potty chemicals, some spray, glass spray for cleaning the solar panels and the windows, wash equipment and stuff in there for washing. And that's my dish holder and pan for washing dishes. Underneath is the 2-gallon jug or 4-gallon jug that I use for washing or filling the sink there. That has a manual pump. I don't know if you saw that earlier, but right behind that sink is that manual pump. That's what I use to pump out of this particular jug of water. I thought about putting an electric pump on it, but I haven't gotten around to it. And there's my tea kettle for heating water for coffee in the morning. Behind that is a pot, another pot above that, more pots, wraps, towels, things that I need for doing dishes or cleaning the panels. So I carry a bunch of those terry cloth towels. And then all these doors are, you can see the latch that I put on them, and I drilled a hole there so that these are secure while you're underway. They're not going to come open. Fire extinguisher, I think when we went by you probably saw that. Hot pad holders for cooking, or when I have a hot pan in the morning when I'm doing my coffee. One thing I forgot to mention is that on the windows here, I installed these new blinds this year because of the difficulty of wind blowing through and blowing curtains all around when you're trying to block the sun. With these, I can lower them all the way. I've got this shade on that window, and then over on this side I added the same. It can come down from the top or the bottom. So, and the wind, if it's blowing through the cabin, has no impact on it. And I did the same thing in the head, the window in there. These are not cheap, but they are really good and well worth the money. Much more functional than what I was using before. You can see it's raining out there, but for some reason it doesn't want to focus through the window. These windows are shades of, like I said, really work well. So there we go. That's a lot more than I intended to talk about. Have a good day. We'll talk to you later.